Hi, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, April the 3rd, with the moon that sets the public tone in sensible, practical Virgo. Virgo is known as being more work-oriented, service-oriented, so it's a pretty good sign to set the tone to start the new work week. Now, discerning Mercury, communication, decision-making Mercury, has been in fiery, impatient, assertive Aries for the last several weeks. Later in the day, by mid-afternoon Pacific time, Mercury is changing signs and going into steady, calming Taurus. That Mercury in Taurus really likes its routine. And as Mercury goes to 0 degrees of Taurus, it's going to be forming a square, this internal conflict with Pluto, which is now at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So by midday, certainly into the first part of Tuesday, that Mercury-Pluto could be a time of a lot of studying, researching. On a positive, secrets may be revealed because Pluto rules the underworld. But this may be a planetary combination indicating that others are trying to convince you of their point of view, or you are trying to influence and persuade people to your point of view. The best approach is to just take it slow and don't rush anything. On Tuesday, the moon in sensible Virgo will go void of course. And as I'm always mentioning, when the moon is void of course, it's no longer making any aspects in that sign until it starts in the next sign. And so the energy is flat and unproductive. So you don't want to do any important new projects, start any kind of new events with the moon void of course, because the energy is flat. This is happening from 6:50 a.m. Pacific time until 2:52 p.m. Pacific time, at which point the Virgo moon goes to 0 degrees of Libra, which will be in harmony now with Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. When the moon is in harmony with Pluto, our feelings, our emotions are intensified, but in a more favorable, deeper level, wanting more intimacy, wanting more connection. On Wednesday, it's the full moon in Libra. Now, it's not going to peak until about 9:35 p.m. Pacific time. So for a lot of the world, the full moon isn't really going to be triggering until early Thursday. But still on Wednesday, the moon is getting brighter with Libra. Libra is trying to find harmony and peace. Mercury, discerning Mercury, will be in harmony with business pragmatic Saturn. So this is a good day for business decisions, conducting business, being really focused, that's the Saturn, with your studies, with communications, that's the Mercury. And with a full moon, perhaps a lot of important matters are really coming to a head. But the Mercury-Saturn is keeping you very grounded and realistic. Thursday, the moon will go void of course in Libra at 5:43 a.m. Pacific time until 11:30 p.m. Pacific time. So the moon is void of course practically the entire day. A good day to just rest, stick to your routine. In other words, just keep doing what you had been doing. Just don't introduce anything important that is new. On Friday, now the moon is in passionate Scorpio. When the moon was in Libra, and the full moon was peaking in Libra, can be a much more social time. But when the moon that sets the public tone in Scorpio, Scorpio is more private, more secretive, wants to just go into its own cave, so to speak. That Scorpio is that intense energies. Libra wanted to find a happy balance. Scorpio doesn't care. It's just all this passionate, intense energies. Pleasure-seeking Venus on Friday will be in harmony with altruistic Neptune. Now, Venus in harmony with Neptune can be very romantic energy, highly creative energy, certainly this compassionate, inspiring energies. Later in the day, more towards the evening, Pacific time, discerning Mercury will be in harmony with Mars. Mercury, Mars, quick decisions, sharp decisions, an active mind, stimulating lots of conversations, could make for a great Friday evening. On Saturday, the first half of the day, Pacific time, the Mercury is still in harmony with Mars, with that moon in all or nothing passionate Scorpio. That Mercury-Mars, you can get a lot accomplished with new ideas, new learning, good for negotiations. On Sunday, now the moon enters into outgoing, more friendly Sagittarius. That Scorpio pulls more inward. Sagittarius wants to travel to the world. It's the great seeker and searcher. It goes into Sag at 5:57 a.m. Pacific time, and will be there for those next 2.5 days. But around noon to 1 p.m. Pacific time, the moon in Sag will be in a stressful angle to restricted, controlling Saturn. So for an hour or two, starting around noon Pacific time, that moon Saturn, you may be feeling worried, tired, stuck, but this too shall pass, and ultimately, when the moon moves past the Saturn, it's back to that more pure Sagittarius, which is friendly and outgoing and adventurous. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.